The galaxy rejected this ship. A human turned it into ultimate power. The galaxy was full of things people wanted, and things they didn't. Most of the galaxy's species had long ago decided what was valuable and what was not. They built cities and shining stars, sailed luxury ships across nebulae, and explored planets that promised profit. But there were corners of space where no one went. Places where the forgotten drifted and the discarded rotted. In one such corner, far beyond the well-traveled trade routes, floated a ship. It was old, massive, and quiet. Its hull had rusted in the emptiness, streaked with colors no one alive could identify. Sensors from passing patrols marked it as worthless and moved on. Rumors whispered through the galaxy that it was cursed, dangerous, or worse. Alive in a way that could drive any alien insane. But humans were different. Or more precisely, there was one human who was different. Kieran Vale had no riches, no noble family, no impressive fleet. He had only a small, battered shuttle, and a mind that refused to accept that something truly powerful could ever be useless. When Kieran first saw the ship on his scanners, his heart raced. Others would see a dead hull floating through the dark. Kieran saw potential. The ship had been rejected, abandoned, left to drift. But humans were clever. Humans could see opportunity where others saw decay. Kieran docked his shuttle with a practiced ease. The docking clamps of the ancient ship groaned under his careful touch. He opened the airlock and stepped into darkness. The interior smelled like metal, dust, and something older, something almost like faint ozone. Every corridor was a maze, twisting in ways that seemed impossible. The ship was clearly designed for intelligence far beyond human understanding. Doors slid open and shut in strange patterns. Lights flickered in colors Kieran had no names for. But he moved forward. He was human, and humans moved forward where others froze in fear. He reached the ship's main control room, or what seemed like it. Screens lined the walls, cracked and dead. Buttons, levers, and panels were layered with dust. Nothing worked, at first. Kieran knelt beside a console, studying it. It pulsed faintly, not randomly, but as if it were alive. The pulse quickened as he placed his hand on it. He whispered, "I don't know what you are, but I think we can help each other." For hours, Kieran studied the alien technology. He tried methods he had learned from humans and other species. Tapping, twisting, improvising. The ship resisted at first. Doors wouldn't open. Lights refused to glow. Panels sparked briefly and then died. But Kieran did not give up. Humans were not the strongest species. They could not move mountains or fly unaided through space. But humans were patient. Humans were creative. Humans could see a problem and not only imagine the solution, but invent it. And slowly, the ship began to respond. Panels slid open that had been sealed for centuries. A faint hum echoed in the corridors, a rhythm like a heartbeat. Kieran's fingers flew across controls he did not understand. Symbols danced across a main screen, forming patterns that made no sense to any alien who had ever approached the ship. But Kieran did not need to understand them all. He only needed to try. Hours turned to days. Kieran ate little, slept less. The ship tested him in ways that were strange and sometimes frightening. Doors would slam shut when he tried to pass. Lights would flare and flicker, bathing him in alien colors. At one point, he thought the ship had rejected him. Then it happened. A low hum rose from the core of the ship. It started as a vibration under his feet. Then the lights began to pulse in harmony with the rhythm of his heartbeat. The panels lit up fully, symbols moving in elegant sequences. The ship was alive, or perhaps it had always been alive, and now it had chosen him. Kieran stepped back, awed. "You're real." His voice sounded small in the vast chamber. He felt a connection he could not explain. It was not fear. It was not control. It was recognition. The ship saw him as something more than just another explorer. He was its partner. The next days were a blur of discovery. The ship's systems responded to his touch and thought. Doors opened when he approached. Panels illuminated when he needed information. A strange, quiet voice, or feeling echoed in his mind, showing him glimpses of the ship's past. It had been built to explore, to protect, to achieve things beyond what any single species could manage. But the galaxy had turned away. It had been judged worthless. Kieran shook his head. "They didn't understand you," he said softly. "They never saw what you could be." The ship seemed to hum in agreement. By the end of the first week, Kieran had managed to restart parts of the ship's engine. Nothing spectacular yet, but enough to feel the potential. The ship could fly again, though it moved cautiously, as if testing its own abilities. Kieran felt a thrill he had never experienced. This was no ordinary ship. This was something incredible, something that the galaxy had rejected, and now it was his to awaken. Even as he worked, Kieran noticed the danger of attention. Sensors that had been off for centuries flickered with faint signals. Other ships might not care yet, but eventually someone would notice. The galaxy had eyes everywhere. But Kieran didn't worry. Humans did not wait for the galaxy's approval. Humans acted, explored, and created. If the galaxy rejected this ship, that was all the more reason to see what it could become. As night fell across the distant stars, Kieran sat in the main chamber, eyes fixed on the softly glowing panels. The ship's hum was steady, comforting, alive. He ran his hands along the console and smiled. "We'll show them, old friend," he whispered. "We'll show them all." Then a sudden flare of light shot across the room. Panels lit up, spinning in sequences Kieran could barely follow. The ship's voice, or presence, was stronger now. It pulsed with energy, responding to his thoughts and actions faster than ever before. Kieran felt a surge of excitement. "You're ready." The ship seemed to respond with a thrill, vibrating through its hull. Kieran understood. It had waited for someone who could see beyond what others called broken, someone who would not fear it, but would awaken it. And now, for the first time in centuries, the ship moved with purpose. Its engines thrummed, faint but steady. Its lights cut through the darkness outside. The galaxy had thrown it away, left it to rot. But humans could turn rejection into something amazing. Kieran smiled as he floated in the control room, fingers brushing across panels and levers. This was only the beginning. The galaxy might think it had judged him and the ship, but they had no idea what was coming. For the first time, the ship was more than metal. It was alive. And with Kieran guiding it, the forgotten ship would soon become something no one could ignore. And then, far in the distance, his scanners picked up faint signals. Ships from a nearby trade route, the first to wander near the forgotten corner in centuries. Their sensors would detect something they would never expect. Kieran's eyes narrowed, not with fear, but with determination. The ship had chosen him. He would honor that choice. And the galaxy would learn what humans could do with something others had abandoned. The hum of the ship grew louder, vibrating through the hull, through the floor, through Kieran himself. It was alive. It had waited. And now, the adventure was about to begin. The galaxy may have rejected this ship, but Kieran would turn it into ultimate power, not with weapons or war, but with ingenuity, courage, and the human spirit. And somewhere deep in the stars, a forgotten ship had finally found a human who could awaken it. The stars outside the ship's hull stretched like silver threads across endless black velvet. Kieran floated in the main control room, staring at the softly glowing panels. Every symbol and light seemed alive, responding to his thoughts before his hands even moved. The ship had chosen him, and now it was showing him its first signs of real power. The days after the initial awakening were filled with exploration. Kieran moved through corridors that seemed to stretch and shift, each one reacting subtly to his presence. He realized the ship was not just a vessel. It was a mind, vast and complex, waiting to learn. He began with small experiments. He powered up sections of the ship's engines, carefully watching the energy flow. The hum of the core deepened as the ship's systems adjusted, stabilizing themselves under his guidance. Kieran noted the subtle feedback, vibrations that felt like heartbeat changes, lights pulsing in rhythm with the ship's thought patterns. He smiled. Humans were good at understanding patterns, even alien ones. The first breakthrough came with the navigation system. The original design was centuries ahead of any known species, but it had been abandoned mid-construction. Charts of star systems, wormholes, and energy currents blinked weakly on cracked panels. Kieran tapped into them with his own algorithms, simple yet effective. Slowly the ship responded, projecting clear holographic maps in three-dimensional space. For the first time, Kieran realized the ship could think ahead, not in the mechanical, predictable way machines did. This ship adapted. It anticipated. It responded to his intentions before he finished them. Humans were not the fastest, nor the strongest, but they had imagination. And imagination, combined with this ship's raw intelligence, was unstoppable. Each day brought more discoveries. Hidden compartments revealed tools and devices Kieran had never seen before. He repaired damaged circuits with improvised solutions, sometimes using pieces of his own shuttle. Every repair, every adjustment was met with a reaction from the ship, an almost imperceptible vibration, like a murmur of approval. Then, one evening, the ship revealed something entirely unexpected. As Kieran traced a line of energy along a damaged conduit, he felt a sudden pulse in his mind. Not threatening, but curious, as if the ship wanted to show him something. The main chamber shimmered, and a holographic display appeared. It was a vision, or rather multiple visions, moving like a stream of possibilities. Alien worlds untouched by intelligent life, cosmic storms with energy swirling like rivers of light, ancient civilizations that had harnessed power far beyond the galaxy's current understanding. The ship was showing Kieran the universe it had once dreamed of exploring. Kieran's eyes widened. "You wanted all of this?" he whispered. The ship pulsed in response. Yes, that was the idea. The galaxy had rejected it, but its purpose had never died. Now, with Kieran, it could reach again. For the first time, Kieran understood the depth of their partnership. The ship had raw power, advanced systems, and knowledge beyond imagination. But without a mind to adapt, without creativity to guide it, it could never have reached its potential. And humans, underestimated by the galaxy, had exactly the kind of mind the ship needed. Days blurred into nights. Kieran worked tirelessly, learning, experimenting, improvising. He discovered that the ship's energy core could sustain itself indefinitely if tuned correctly. He unlocked adaptive shields that could absorb and redirect energy safely. He coaxed the engines into efficiency modes that no other species could imagine. Each discovery felt like unlocking a hidden piece of a puzzle, and each success deepened the bond between human and ship. And then came communication. Not words, not even symbols, but feelings. Kieran could sense the ship's intent. It could suggest ideas without speaking. When he thought about trying a new configuration, the ship responded with subtle vibrations, almost guiding his hands. When he made a mistake, it corrected itself gently, teaching him. They were learning together. It was during one of these experiments that Kieran noticed the first signs of attention from the galaxy. A distant sensor flare caught his eye. A patrol ship scanning sectors for unusual readings was heading this way. Kieran's heart skipped a beat, not from fear, but from anticipation. The galaxy had ignored this corner for centuries. Now, someone was curious, and he would show them what a human and a discarded ship could achieve. He adjusted the ship's engines to a quiet hum, testing their new efficiency. Lights danced along the hull, signaling systems running at peak potential. The ship vibrated with energy, eager to move, eager to prove itself. Kieran realized the galaxy had never seen anything like this, and they would. Over the next week, Kieran pushed the ship further. He discovered that its energy core could generate fields that projected holographic images across vast distances. Not messages of warning or threat, but visions. Proof of discovery, of understanding, of intelligence. He practiced refining control, projecting images of stars, planets, and nebulae in patterns that no species could deny. The ship responded to his creativity. Where he designed, it optimized. Where he imagined, it enhanced. It was learning what he already knew. Humans were small, fragile, underestimated. but capable of unimaginable innovation when combined with opportunity. And then came the first major test. Kieran activated a long-dormant propulsion array, designed for energy-rich routes through nebulae no other species dared to enter. The engines hummed, thrummed, and then roared softly, sending pulses through the ship. Kieran grinned. The ship had never moved like this before, and he had never guided anything like it. It sliced through space with elegance, avoiding hazards the galaxy would have called deadly. Meteor fields, rogue energy currents, and invisible gravity wells all became opportunities to test skill and ingenuity. Every maneuver reflected not just Kieran's skill, but humanity's ability to adapt, improvise, and overcome. By the end of the first month, the ship was more than just metal and circuits. It was alive, aware, and learning. And Kieran, once an unknown human in the galaxy's shadow, had become the only one who could unlock its full potential. Even in moments of quiet, when he floated in the main chamber and stared at the endless stars, Kieran felt the partnership deepening. The ship responded to thought, to touch, even to intention. It was not a machine to be used. It was a mind to be respected, guided, and awakened. Then came the unexpected, the first direct communication attempt from another species. A patrol signal, repeating across long-range channels, filled the ship's sensors. The voice, or signal, was curious, cautious, and slightly alarmed. They had detected energy readings that should not exist in this sector, and they were coming closer. Kieran's mind raced. He could hide, yes. He could flee, but the ship's engines had never been tested at full potential, and the galaxy had already written this ship off. Now, it would see humanity at its best. He smiled. The ship hummed in agreement. It was ready. Kieran activated a secondary system, projecting a gentle, shimmering holographic display toward the approaching patrol. It was not threatening. It was a demonstration of intelligence, of power, of capability. Stars shifted, colors danced, patterns emerged. The patrol would see not a threat, but a force to respect and understand. And as the patrol ship changed course slightly, its sensors curious and cautious, Kieran realized something profound. The galaxy had underestimated humans. It had rejected the ship, labeling it worthless. But humans, with imagination, persistence, and courage, could awaken what others could not. For Kieran, the ship, and the galaxy, this was the beginning. The ship had potential beyond any species' understanding, and humans had unlocked it. In the days that followed, Kieran explored the ship's abilities even further. He discovered that the ship could interact with cosmic energy currents, channeling them safely to generate power or communicate across vast distances. He experimented with adaptive shields that could protect the ship from natural hazards instead of weapons. He refined engines that could move faster than most species thought possible, without ever breaking a rule of safety. Every discovery reinforced a single truth. The galaxy had rejected something that could change everything. And it was a human, simple, determined, creative, who would prove it. As Kieran floated in the main chamber one evening, watching the stars ripple past the windows, he spoke softly to the ship. "They'll see us soon, and they'll have to understand what humans can do." The ship pulsed in response, an affirmation, a promise, a challenge. It was ready to show the galaxy that what was discarded could become extraordinary. And Kieran, a human who never accepted impossible, would guide it. The galaxy had labeled the ship worthless. Kieran had labeled it potential, and as he drifted in the soft glow of alien lights, he knew one thing for certain. The adventure had only just begun. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and the possibilities were infinite. Together, human and ship would awaken something the galaxy had never dreamed of seeing. The galaxy had begun to notice. It was subtle at first, rumors whispered between ships, faint sensor readings that could not be explained, and accounts of a lone vessel moving through dangerous space with impossible skill. Some called it a myth. Some called it a trick of the stars. But Kieran knew the truth. The ship he had awakened was becoming something extraordinary, and it was all because of humans. Kieran had spent months exploring the ship's potential. Every system had been tested, refined, and improved. The engines, once sluggish and unpredictable, now pulsed with energy and efficiency beyond the original design. Navigation arrays could map stars and anomalies with uncanny precision. Energy systems hummed smoothly, able to absorb, store, and redirect cosmic energy safely. And the ship's mind, its awareness, had grown sharper, more intuitive, more human in its understanding. He floated in the main control room, his fingers brushing across a console that responded instantly to his touch. Symbols danced to life at his command. Holographic charts of neighboring systems hovered in three-dimensional space. The ship thrummed beneath him, alive and aware, its heartbeat matching his own. "Ready for the next step?" Kieran asked softly. The ship pulsed back, a wave of energy that felt like agreement. They would venture farther now, not just for exploration, but to prove what humans could accomplish. The first real test was in the Nebula of Whispers, a massive cloud of charged gas and unpredictable energy currents. No species dared enter it. Sensors would fail, engines would stall, and most ships would be shredded by static bursts. But Kieran and his ship moved through the nebula like it was a calm stream. The ship's adaptive systems read the fluctuating currents, adjusting shields and engines in real time. Energy fields from the nebula were redirected to power the engines, making them stronger. Kieran guided the ship with steady hands, and the vessel responded like a partner, adjusting to every subtle movement, every decision he made. Other species would have panicked. They would have sent fleets to avoid the nebula entirely. But humans thrived on challenges. And Kieran's calm, creative thinking allowed the ship to do what no one else could. By the time they emerged on the other side, Kieran felt a surge of pride. The ship had not just survived the Nebula of Whispers. It had thrived in it. Its systems had adapted, learned, and improved. And Kieran realized that this was the true power of humans. They could see possibilities where others saw only danger. The galaxy began to take notice more openly. Sensor readings were being shared among star routes, describing a single anomalous ship moving with intelligence and skill far beyond the usual. Traders, explorers, and even scientists were curious. Who could pilot such a vessel? How could any being survive in the dangerous sectors it traversed? Kieran decided to make the first contact on his own terms. He used the ship's holographic projection systems to create a message visible across light years. Not a warning, not a demand. Demonstration. A swirling pattern of energy appeared above the ship, shifting colors and shapes to display intelligence, creativity, and control. It told a story, not of power used for war, but of discovery, protection, and understanding. The galaxy watched in wonder. Ships altered their courses to avoid collision, scanning and recording the images, and reports spread quickly. For the first time, humans were being recognized for what they truly were. The galaxy had always underestimated them. Small, fragile, slow in some ways, yet full of imagination, creativity, and an ability to see what others could not. The ship had been rejected, abandoned, and forgotten. And yet, guided by a human mind, it was performing feats the galaxy had never witnessed. Kieran explored further. He took the ship to the asteroid belt of shadows, a dense field where gravitational anomalies made navigation nearly impossible. Using adaptive engines and predictive navigation, he guided the vessel through narrow gaps between massive rocks, energy currents flowing around them like invisible rivers. The ship responded to him instantly, bending energy safely around obstacles, adjusting shields for gravitational fluctuations, and even projecting subtle light patterns to signal the safest paths. Other explorers, watching from a distance, recorded every move in awe. No species had ever achieved such precise navigation without destruction or loss. The ship, once abandoned, was now a beacon of human ingenuity. Kieran realized that the true strength of humans lay not in brute force, but in partnership. He did not need to command the ship like a machine. He guided it, taught it, and inspired it. Together, they were more than the sum of their parts, and the galaxy could see it. The next breakthrough came in communication. Kieran discovered that the ship could send and receive energy-based messages over incredible distances. He projected holographic images and patterns to distant outposts, sharing knowledge, warnings, and discoveries. Scientists and explorers who once ignored human contributions now marveled at the ability of a single human to operate a ship that could interact with space in ways no other species had imagined. One night, drifting near a quiet star system, Kieran reflected on how far they had come. He floated in the main chamber, watching the lights of the ship respond to his presence. "We've done it," he whispered. "We've shown them that humans are more than they think." The ship pulsed in response, almost like laughter or approval. It had learned, grown, and adapted, but it also recognized the one thing that made humans unique: creativity. Where aliens relied on strength, logic, or technology alone, humans relied on ingenuity, intuition, and heart. And the galaxy had never expected it. The first real challenge to this reputation came sooner than expected. A patrol fleet, curious and cautious, approached a sector where Kieran had been mapping unknown stars. They were not hostile, but their presence demanded attention. Any other species might have fled or hidden, but Kieran saw an opportunity. He activated the ship's projection systems and created a dynamic display of energy and light. It was not threatening. It was a demonstration. Streams of energy danced through space, forming patterns that told a story of intelligence, of care, of potential. The fleet paused, scanning, unable to comprehend how a single human could command such power and precision. One ship sent a signal, tentative but respectful. Kieran responded, carefully modulating the ship's projections to communicate curiosity and peace. The fleet watched in awe as the patterns shifted, adapting to their responses. For the first time, the galaxy saw humans not as fragile observers or small players, but as innovators capable of mastering what others abandoned. Kieran smiled. "This is only the beginning," he said softly. The ship vibrated in agreement. Together, they would continue to explore, to discover, and to prove that the galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. Over the next weeks, Kieran guided the ship to more dangerous regions: asteroid storms, energy anomalies, and gravitational maelstroms. Each time, the ship adapted faster, anticipated better, and learned more. Every success reinforced the truth: humans were underestimated, but with ingenuity, creativity, and determination, they could achieve the impossible. Explorers from other species began to follow reports, observing from safe distances. They documented the ship's movements, its ability to survive impossible conditions, and the calm, intelligent human at the helm. Slowly, the galaxy's perception of humans began to change. They were no longer the small, weak species that others ignored. They were partners in discovery, innovators capable of turning rejection into triumph. One evening, as Kieran floated in the main chamber, watching the stars ripple past, he realized something profound. The ship's power was immense, but it was not just in its engines, shields, or energy systems. Its true power came from the combination of alien design and human creativity. Alone, the ship had been abandoned. Alone, humans had limited resources. Together, they were extraordinary, and the galaxy could see it. Kieran activated the ship's long-range projection system once more, sending a message not just to a fleet, but across star systems. Patterns of energy flowed outward, demonstrating capability, intelligence, and hope. The galaxy watched, amazed, as the once-forgotten ship moved with elegance, precision, and intelligence guided by human ingenuity. The human touch had made all the difference. The galaxy that had rejected the ship could no longer ignore it. They had seen what humans could accomplish, and they would remember it. Kieran smiled as he floated in the control room, hand resting on a glowing console. "We've shown them," he said softly. The ship pulsed in agreement. They had survived impossible hazards, communicated across light years, and demonstrated the limitless potential of humans working in harmony with something the galaxy had abandoned. The adventure was far from over. The galaxy had begun to notice, and soon, more challenges would arise. But Kieran and the ship were ready. Together, they would continue to prove that humans, though small and underestimated, could unlock the ultimate potential hidden in even the most forgotten corners of the universe. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, filled with unknown possibilities. And with human creativity guiding a vessel abandoned by the galaxy, there was no limit to what they could achieve. The galaxy had begun to change its mind about humans. Reports of a single human navigating impossible hazards, piloting a ship abandoned for centuries, and demonstrating intelligence and creativity had spread across star systems. But Kieran knew that perception alone was not enough. Observation could inspire awe, but it could not fully reveal the power of human potential. That revelation had to come from action, from exploration, and from showing the galaxy what collaboration between human ingenuity and alien design could truly achieve. The ship, now fully awakened, hummed with quiet power. Its engines pulsed with energy drawn not only from its own core, but from cosmic currents, channeling the universe itself into usable force. Shields could bend, adapt, and absorb energy. Navigation systems could calculate millions of possible outcomes in seconds. Holographic arrays could communicate across distances no other species had attempted. And it had learned from Kieran, absorbing his thought patterns, his logic, and his intuition. Kieran floated in the main chamber, hands brushing lightly across the glowing panels. "We're ready," he whispered. The ship pulsed in reply, a rhythm so steady and strong it felt like a heartbeat beneath his fingertips. The adventure that had begun as curiosity and experimentation was now about to reach its pinnacle. Their first destination was a sector known as the Mirror Veil, a region of space so strange and dangerous that most species avoided it entirely. Energy currents twisted unpredictably, gravitational waves folded upon themselves, and nebulae shimmered with volatile radiation. Most explorers who ventured even near the edge of the Mirror Veil never returned. Kieran's eyes sparkled with determination. "Let's show them what humans can do," he said. The ship responded immediately, adjusting its systems for extreme precision. Together, they moved into the Mirror Veil, flowing through the anomalies with grace and control. Energy that would tear ordinary ships apart was absorbed and redirected, used to power the engines and shields. Cosmic storms that would have obliterated lesser vessels became opportunities to demonstrate adaptability. It was not brute force that carried them through. It was thought, creativity, and intuition. Where other species relied on pre-programmed responses or sheer power, Kieran and the ship improvised, adapted, and evolved in real time. They moved as one human and vessel, mind and machine. As they reached the heart of the Mirror Veil, the ship detected an energy nexus, a natural convergence of cosmic forces unlike anything Kieran had ever seen. The readings were overwhelming. Sensors struggled to interpret the currents of energy, and yet the ship adjusted seamlessly, bending the flow without disrupting it. "This is it," Kieran whispered, awe in his voice. "We can harness this safely and show them what we're capable of." The ship hummed louder, thrumming with anticipation. Kieran guided it carefully, tuning energy collectors and stabilizers. Slowly, the ship began to draw power from the nexus, channeling it safely through its systems. Light shimmered across the hull in colors that no human had names for, patterns that conveyed intelligence and purpose. For hours, Kieran and the ship worked together, a symphony of human thought and alien technology. Every adjustment, every calculation, every subtle movement of the ship amplified the energy safely and efficiently. The vessel pulsed with brilliance, a beacon of intelligence and capability unmatched anywhere else in the galaxy. The first observers were not even aware they were witnessing it. Scouts from distant systems, drawn by the unusual energy readings, hovered at the edge of the Mirror Veil. They had expected danger, perhaps a lost or malfunctioning vessel. Instead, they saw a single human guiding a ship through impossible currents with elegance and precision, turning what could have been destruction into controlled, awe-inspiring power. Kieran projected holographic displays outward, not as a warning or threat, but as a demonstration. Images of stars, planets, and cosmic flows danced across the void, showing intelligence, care, and purpose. The observers gasped in astonishment. Nothing they had ever known prepared them for this. A ship once rejected by the galaxy, fully awakened, now guided by a human mind. "This is what we can do," Kieran said softly, though no one could hear him beyond the ship's hull. The ship pulsed in response, communicating not in words, but in thought, in rhythm, in understanding. Humans could imagine possibilities. The ship could realize them. Together, they had achieved something extraordinary. The energy nexus stabilized, allowing Kieran to conduct experiments safely. He discovered that the ship could project protective fields over vast distances, create precise energy flows for exploration, and even assist distant settlements struggling with environmental hazards. No weapons were needed, no force used, only creativity, control, and understanding. News of the human and the ship spread rapidly. Across star systems, reports arrived. A human had awakened a vessel abandoned by the galaxy, transforming it into a force of incredible capability. Scientists, explorers, and leaders began to take notice. The galaxy that had once rejected this ship could no longer ignore it. And it was not destruction that the ship displayed, but intelligence, adaptability, and ingenuity. Kieran took the ship further. He visited uncharted nebulae, mapped hidden star systems, and explored energy-rich anomalies. Each journey revealed more about the universe and about the potential humans held when imagination and opportunity met. The ship adapted faster each time, anticipating Kieran's creative strategies, projecting energy safely, and calculating outcomes that no other species could comprehend. He began to understand the full scope of their achievement. The ship's power was immense, but its true strength lay in partnership. Alone, the ship had been abandoned, its capabilities unused. Alone, humans were limited, fragile, and underestimated. Together, human creativity and the ship's advanced systems created a combination the galaxy had never seen. One evening, Kieran floated in the main chamber, gazing at the stars stretching endlessly beyond the hull. "We've done it," he said softly. "We've taken what the galaxy discarded and turned it into something extraordinary." The ship pulsed brightly, almost like laughter or pride. It had learned, adapted, and grown. But it had also learned from Kieran. Humans were small in size, fragile in appearance, yet capable of seeing possibilities beyond any other species. The galaxy had underestimated them for too long. The ultimate test came when Kieran decided to reach beyond known space. He guided the ship toward the Veil of Echoes, a region so dangerous that it was considered unreachable by any intelligent life. Energy storms erupted unpredictably, gravity twisted in impossible directions, and radiation streams could fry any vessel instantly. Most species would have fled. Kieran smiled. "This is perfect," he said. Humans thrived on challenges, on turning danger into opportunity. The ship responded immediately, adjusting its shields and engines for extreme conditions. Together they entered the Veil of Echoes. The ship absorbed energy storms, redirected radiation safely, and bent gravitational forces to aid navigation. Kieran guided every move with calm precision, improvising solutions where needed. The ship anticipated his thoughts, adapting faster than any human or alien mind could comprehend. It was not strength that carried them. It was creativity, insight, and partnership. When they emerged on the other side, Kieran realized they had accomplished something no one else in the galaxy could. The ship had survived the impossible, and humans had guided it. Their journey became a symbol. What the galaxy had rejected could become the ultimate force for good when guided by ingenuity and courage. Kieran sent one final holographic message across multiple star systems. Not a warning, not a threat, a story, a demonstration. The message flowed like energy across the void, showing the universe what humans and the ship had achieved together. The observers recorded, shared, and marveled. A single human had turned rejection into brilliance, unlocking potential no other species could match. He floated in the main chamber, hands resting on the glowing controls, watching the ship pulse with quiet energy. "We've done it," he whispered again. "We've turned what they rejected into ultimate power." The ship responded, a steady rhythm of energy, a heartbeat in sync with his own. Together they had not only survived impossible hazards, they had redefined what it meant to be human in the galaxy. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, filled with infinite possibilities. And with human ingenuity guiding a vessel abandoned for centuries, there was no limit to what could be achieved. The galaxy would remember this moment. A human had awakened a ship, and together they had turned rejection into ultimate, peaceful power. For Kieran, for the ship, and for humanity, The universe had changed. The galaxy could no longer underestimate humans. They had proven that intelligence, creativity, and determination could awaken greatness even in what the galaxy once discarded. And somewhere deep in the stars, a forgotten ship glowed brightly, alive, aware and guided by a human who had refused to accept impossible. The adventure was complete, yet it had only just begun. The galaxy would never be the same again.